podcast. Video and audio episodes premiere September 18th. Find it on mpbonline.org or wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
The nation's longest-running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
What's happening, Mississippi? From MPB Think Radio, this is The Sit Down with Russ Latino, where we explore the ideas and people that are shaping Mississippi's future. Today, we're going to do a little change of pace. We've been doing a lot of change of pace lately, Germaine. Maybe we should just call this the Change of Pace Show.
That's how I'm feeling about all of my shows. It's all a change of pace during the summer for some reason.
Well, you know, it's hot. People are in a different frame of mind.
Yeah.
School is starting back. My kids start back at school tomorrow.
I feel bad for kids who have to start back at the end of the week.
What's up with that?
I don't know. And then the parents, too. I feel bad for y'all because it's the end of the week.
Yeah, it feels like summer's been cut short.
Yeah.
But we've got a great program for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about some national trends. You know, Sidney Sweeney, because I know that's hitting the news
national.
These days. I don't think
She always hits the news.
I don't think it should be national news, but it is. So we'll delve into that a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Coldplay couple, Epstein Island. Let's just hit all the pop culture we can hit.
That's universe news.
Yeah, let's just hit all the pop culture we can hit. And then maybe a little politics. Talk a little bit about what's going on with the Trump administration 6-7 months in now. And to do that, we've got a unique guest in. I started following Kimberly Ross on Twitter, now known as X. I have a hard time not saying Twitter. A number of years ago, she is a delightful human being. And started to interact with her and found out that she actually lives in Mississippi. She's also a columnist for the Washington Examiner. She's recently become a columnist for the paper that I run, the Magnolia Tribune. We're so thrilled to have her. And she is great at breaking down cultural issues. And one of the things that makes her an ex-queen, in my mind, is that she has this freshness in terms of her opinion, in that it's not tribal. She will criticize people on the right. She will criticize people on the left. I think there's an honesty and authenticity that comes with that. So, Kim, welcome to the Sit Down.
Thank you so much for having me. And that was a wonderful introduction. I appreciate it.
We try. We do what we can. So, you know, in the last couple of days, and I want to talk broadly about social media, but in the last couple of days, there's been this uproar about American Eagle advertisement featuring Sidney Sweeney. Now, for those of you who don't know who Sidney Sweeney is, that's okay. You're probably over 50. But if you're under 50, you probably know who she is. She's become sort of a sex icon, right? And she's an actress. She's in a lot of movies. She's been in television shows. I think she was at, what's the HBO show? White Lotus.
I think,
yeah, she was in White Lotus, maybe the first season of that. So has become a very popular actor. She is an attractive young lady. And so American Eagle featured her in an advertisement series to promote their jeans. And people are kind of mad with her being in the ad and with the slogan that went along with her being in the ad, which was Sidney Sweeney has great jeans. Spelled Jeans, as in the things that you wear on your bottom, but also as a play on words to reference the fact that she's beautiful, right? She has good Genes jeans. People are mad. Why are people mad?
Well, people are mad because they think somehow the white, blue-eyed, blonde hair thing is, in her using the word jeans in the ad, is somehow pushing that sort of demographic as better than everyone else. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think she is, I dare say she's objectively beautiful. And she's a model type kind of person. So they put her out there to sell the jeans, and they did a play on word with jeans and jeans. And I mean, sure, it's kind of humorous and amusing, and that's kind of what they went with for the ad and everything. And I think people are mad because of the Genes ES and the jeans that you wear and everything, and how I guess it's pushing her type of beauty seemingly over everyone else, but I don't think it is. I think it's just a model promoting the jeans, and she's famous and she's been in movies and everything. I think the controversy or the uproar, which, my goodness, it has taken Twitter by storm. Yesterday, that's like all that was on there. And I don't know why people are so mad about it. I don't buy American Eagle jeans. I think I've seen her maybe in The White Lotus. I watched a little bit of that. She's an okay actress. Sure, she's beautiful and she's a model. She's promoting jeans. I think that's about it. I think people are putting way too much effort into finding something that's offensive, and I don't really find it.
And
very
if I could pipe in a little bit, I seen this online too, and then the jeans part to me was correct, meaning GENES, and what she said about the jeans was fact. Those things do happen. Those things are hereditarily sent down through genes, GENES.
Sure.
So yeah, it was a dig. It was a good dig.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it and I go, if Halle Berry had been in that ad, or if Selma Hayek had been in that ad with the exact same language.
They have good genes too.
They have very good genes. And I'm dating myself right now because I'm sure there are younger versions that I could point out. But for a man that's 44, those two women have good genes.
They do, yes.
I don't think anybody would have been upset. And then I see sort of the rhetoric that is online that's like, hey, this is promoting Nazism, or this is promoting some form of eugenics. And it's like, man, it feels like we're just trying too hard to be pissed off about something.
Yeah, I don't find it offensive at all. I find she's a beautiful woman. Like you said, other women, Salma Hayek, Halle Berry, they're beautiful women. If they were promoting jeans, of course they might use that as like the ad promotion to, get people interested in jeans because a beautiful woman is selling jeans. I think that's the long and short of it. I don't think it's deeper than that. I think American Eagle just wants people to buy their clothes. They use a model who's, younger, good looking, whatever, kind of in the cultural spotlight right now. That is it. There's nothing more to it than that.
Well, so I saw the argument that this was like, I think MSNBC said this was like American Eagle trying to foist whiteness on people. Which, I mean, at some level, is that argument then that no one who is white can be in an advertisement, or no one who is pretty can be in an advertisement? Yeah. It's a weird thing, right? I mean, like, I think that advertising should show a diversity of human beings because we are a diverse country. But by the same token, that doesn't mean that we should exclude one group of people just because they happen to be the majority.
No. And there's obviously beautiful people in every age group, in every race, whatever their body type is. There's beautiful, attractive people in all these areas. And it doesn't mean that Sidney Sweeney is the ideal of beauty. She just happens to be who they chose for the marketing. And like I said, it doesn't fit. I don't have blonde hair, and I'm not young.
Well, and look, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it makes sense to me that a company that is trying to sell a product would want someone attractive with star power to be the person that sells the product. Yeah. I mean, at some level, as a man, I've done this. I know women do this at some level. It's like, hey, you see someone wearing an outfit and that person happens to be handsome. You go, well, I might like to wear a shirt like that, right? And it doesn't bother me at all that they've used someone who is clearly more attractive than I am, right? I was like, they're selling a product.
Right.
The other thing I saw, and this actually came from the right. Do you know who Hannah Cox is? Are you friends with Hannah? Do you?
I think I know who she is, yeah.
Yeah, so Hannah had a different take on it, which was essentially that it was the patriarchy sort of returning to sexually objectify women by putting Sidney Sweeney in the ad.
Well, I mean, anytime there's sort of a model displaying anything, whether it's makeup or clothes or something, and there is some sort of objectification of the female who is promoting the product, I don't think it was overly suggestive or anything. I think, sure, guys are going to be interested in the ad, as we can clearly see by the social media response.
Sure.
But I don't think it was like inappropriate in a way that so many other ads have been. It didn't go too far, didn't show too much or something. I don't know why. I don't know why this particular ad has caused so much of a reaction. It kind of, I'm shocked that it actually has.
Yeah, well, and I guess the only reason that I'm bringing it up, because part of me thinks it's stupid. Like, it's just trite, it's stupid. It doesn't warrant our conversation. But for some reason, the rest of the country disagreed.
Yeah.
And so there's something going on culturally that triggers people to be upset about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm struggling to figure out what it is. And part of me just thinks that we have become addicted to a culture of outrage.
Mm-hmm.
That in order for us to feed that addiction, we constantly have to be manufacturing something new, or else we kind of feel empty. It's like, what are we going to argue about today? Let's figure this thing out.
Yeah. No, I think people really enjoy, well, they love arguing. That's why people are on, I mean, I've been on Twitter for more than 12 years now. People love to argue. They don't like going to an environment like a social media site where they agree with everyone. They want to be able to push their ideas and their opinions in the face of someone who is opposing them. It feels like you have some sort of righteous cause. Even if it's just online, even if you pick up your phone and scroll through your app, I don't know, on your lunch break or something, it feels like you're doing something. And I feel like that's what people think of when they look at something like this ad, which is not a big deal at all, and it shouldn't even cause us outrage. But they see other people saying it's bad, and they're like, no, it's actually good. And so people argue back and forth, and it feels like they're accomplishing something when they're really not.
I think we're just wasting an awful lot of time. We got to take a break. We're talking with Kimberly Ross. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to The Sit Down with Russ Latino.
Together through the years, together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Every parent wants their child to grow, to explore, and to dream big. At MPB, we're proud to support families and teachers across Mississippi with trusted educational programming and resources that inspire learning and spark imagination. From PBS Kids favorites to digital tools and early learning support, MPB is here for young minds, engaged classrooms, and families who believe in the power of learning at every age. Empowering families, inspiring learners. MPB, your stories, our mission.
The nation's longest running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
Listening to The Sit Down right here on MPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Russ Latino. Today, my guest is columnist Kimberly Ross. She writes for the Washington Examiner, also writes for our little outlet, Magnolia Tribune, and we're always glad to have her on there. She writes some great stuff. So if you enjoy this conversation, please follow her at magnoliatribune.com and lots of other good stuff there as well. We were talking before the break about the Sidney Sweeney phenomenon, and you know, we both said it's kind of stupid, right? It's like, how does this end up being something that occupies this level of time, that occupies this level of analysis, that you've got Fox News, MSNBC. The Washington Post wrote like a analytical breakdown of the advertisement. And there's a part of me that goes like, I get that the news industry is struggling. As someone who is trying to build a media company, I'm like, I get the challenges, but it feels very cheap to turn these sorts of internet sensations into national news. It feels like it's validation of something that isn't newsworthy.
Right.
And so it very much stokes this sort of debate. I think that we saw the same thing with the Coldplay situation, right? And, you know, my read on the Coldplay situation was it appears that this guy is cheating. I don't know that for a fact, right? Sometimes the internet is wrong in how it identifies people. It may very well be that they caught something at the beginning of infidelity where the cheating actually hadn't been consummated yet. So there were a lot of assumptions made very quickly after that video went public. Now, I think some of that is borne out, like the identity of the people as an example. But we're very quick to make assumptions. And then we're very quick to think that we're doing something benevolent in sharing that information. So, you know, the wife's social media was identified of the man who was involved with the Coldplay concert. Her social media was identified. And that morning, like several hundred people went on her Facebook to share the video and comment about how her husband is a cheater. Yeah. And that is not, in fact, benevolent. I mean, so it's one thing to look at those two people caught on video and think they deserve everything that's coming to them because they're doing something wrong.
Right.
It's another thing entirely to completely disregard the effect and humiliation of their families, their kids, of this being turned into a national spectacle.
Right.
Because in the past, it wouldn't have been national news that an affair was happening. It's horrible, but lots of affairs happen. So how does that become what it became?
I don't know. I think people, well, they use social media in part to escape their lives a little bit. It's a distraction from whatever is happening in their life. And I think my main reaction to the Coldplay thing was kind of like what you said. It's terrible, of course, if that's actually what's happening. And I don't feel sorry for the two people involved who were caught on the camera. Like you said, they have what's coming to them. They made choices that put them in that situation. But for me, the fact that the families are involved and there's children, there's other spouses who are seeing this replayed over and over, like it was worldwide news for whatever reason. And they're seeing like one of the most painful moments in their entire life displayed online. And I don't know how many views like the initial video got, but I think it was like hundreds of millions. I mean, can you imagine your most personal embarrassment, even if you didn't make that choice, if it was done to you, have that displayed in front of the entire world, and people talk about it over and over, and there's skits and there's memes, and it's like an object of, it's a joke kind of to people. And for me, I think that aspect of it, the fact that it's so painful for these people and people just use it as kind of like some social media fodder, I think that's really damaging for those individuals involved and just how we face things in our lives or react to things in other people's lives that aren't positives, of course. And how do we talk about those things that aren't good? How do we express our disdain for the people involved? But there are individuals involved. There are human beings involved in these situations. And it's not just something for us to post online and say, oh, that's hilarious. Look at how terrible this was. It's terrible, and it's affecting lives right now, and it's going to in the future. And I can't imagine that sort of thing being replayed over and over, people talking about it or coming to find me on my social media to say, hey, look what happened. I mean, is that
Look what
really,
your husband did.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that really what we want as a society? That is the kind of the end point of social media for us, just using what we see and using it as kind of, entertainment when it's real people's lives that are involved and pain that's happening.
It strikes me that our modern society, because so much of it is done through the screen of a smartphone and not face-to-face, is that one of the things that we've lost is, one, the ability to communicate, period, but two, the ability to put ourselves in another person's shoes. So I think for a lot of people, whoever his wife wasn't a person. It was just, this face on Facebook, right? And there was no consideration of, if my husband did this to me or my wife did this to me, how would I feel, not only from the betrayal, but from the fact that the whole world is making fun of the betrayal. Yeah. And I think if you would stop for just a moment to put yourself in those shoes, you'd go, I don't want to be a part of this chorus because it feels really bad. And I think it goes back to what is news and what is not news at some level too. It's like, to me, news is like, I'm going to tell you something that impacts your life. I'm going to tell you something that you need to know so you can hold a politician accountable, or so that you can understand how a policy is going to impact you, or you know what a weather event's going to do to your community. There's no consequence to the person who's posting memes about Coldplay on the fact that those two people were hugging at a Coldplay concert. Yeah. It's not news. But we blow up and we turn it into something for a couple days, and then we forget it. And meanwhile, families is left to pick up the pieces.
One of the worst things I saw, I think it was on Facebook, someone was saying, well, look at the woman who was with this guy at the Coldplay concert and compare her looks to the wife of the guy at the Coldplay concert. Who is more beautiful? So if the wife is more beautiful, then she shouldn't have deserved that sort of cheating. And if she wasn't as pretty, well, maybe she kind of deserved it. Like, is that what we're doing as a society? Saying that looks is what... like, that is the criteria for whether you should be cheated on or not? Like, really? Like, that's what we're going with? It's okay to be cheated on if you don't look great, and it's not okay to be cheated on if you're, objectively beautiful. That is so poisonous for families and just how people view themselves as human beings and our worth as individuals. It's not in our looks, and there should be correct actions taken in a marriage or relationships and stuff, and it has nothing to do with how you look. So like, that one aspect I saw, I was like, are we seriously at this point to where we're saying, well, if she's cuter, then yeah, it's bad that she got cheated on? No, that's not what we should be teaching our kids. That's not how we should be behaving in our relationships.
No, and that's a fascinating point, because I saw some of those comparisons, but I did not draw that conclusion, right? That's a very good conclusion. Is like, really what you're saying by making that comparison is, it's not okay because she's hotter than the woman he was cheating with.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is disgusting. And at some level, this is a broader conversation, but I mean, at some level, the message we need to be communicating to our kids is that marriage is a commitment. It's a promise, right? And those vows, when you say for better or worse and sickness and health, those are not just words that you say.
Yeah.
That's what you are vowing to do. You are making a commitment. And, we're living in a culture where that sort of commitment is over a lot of people's heads. I think I'm sort of fixated on this social media thing right now because I've gone back and forth in my own head. We were talking about this offline. It's like, there's a part of me that loves social media because it allows me to connect to people like you or family members that are spread out all over the country that I wouldn't know that they just had a baby or something's going on in their life that's momentous, but for the fact that Facebook tells me, right? And so that is cool. The flip side of it is one, I think it makes us a lot less productive because we waste an awful lot of time.
Right.
It's a summer holiday, it's like we spend all this time trying to entertain ourselves as a distraction with this stuff. The other really dangerous part of it to me is that I think it's playing a significant role in mental health. And I think, we were talking about this too, I think there's an element of this that is, I get to see the very best that people are offering, right? The vacation in Barbados, hey, I just had a meal at this fancy restaurant, whatever it is. And I get to see all these friends and people that I barely know having a glamorous life. And now I've got to compare myself to those people.
Right.
But all that stuff is false, right? It is a sliver of those people who are posting that stuff's actual life experience. But if you're somebody that's struggling to go on a vacation or to go to a nice meal or whatever it is, it creates in your head this sort of feeling of, I am a failure, right? I'm not living up to the rest of the world. That I think is really dangerous.
Oh, I could not agree more. I think definitely with social media, we present the best version of ourselves. I'm not going to go on Facebook and say, oh, I had the worst day ever. I made some terrible decisions. I felt bad. I didn't look good, like all that stuff. I'm not doing that. I'm putting what I feel is the best about me and of me on social media. And like you said, other people see that and they compare themselves to that. Well, that is the highlight of my day. the most of my day is not seen on social media, like the things I did, the things I thought, the ups and downs that I have. And like you're saying, people do that with like their houses and their vacations and things that they get in their cars and stuff that they purchase and everything. And like you said, people see that and they're like, why isn't my life like that? Well, social media is made to present the best version of ourselves because, I don't know, it's like a highlight reel. It's not even close to real life. And people kind of treat it as real life because it's right there in your phone. You can click on the app, you can see what people are doing, and you're like, oh, well, everyone else is having a better life than I am, then why can't I get to that point? And even if you don't talk to other people about those frustrations that you see when you scroll through your social media, it can eat away at you. And like you said, people who are struggling with mental health, it can make it worse. People who haven't been struggling with mental health, it might create some sort of social media related depression. And yeah, that's one thing I think about a lot as a parent. My kids are 9 and 4, and I do not want them to have cell phones anytime soon. I don't know what the good age is for that, but I don't want them to have access to the internet because I can really see the poison it is for adults, and we're much more mature than our children. And if you put that in a child's mind, a preteen's mind, it can do a lot of damage. Like, I'm so glad social media wasn't around when I was 13 and 14. It really would have eaten away at my self-esteem. And I mean, it's bad enough now as adults. We see that stuff online, and teenagers and even preteens, they don't need that. And I think that's something we're talking about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think at some level, human beings are far more impressionable than they think they are. Right. And so at a subconscious level, even we start to create standards for ourselves based on what we see, and what we see isn't real. Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating. It could take up the entire hour. We're going to take a break. We're talking with Kimberly Ross right here on the Sit Down on MPB Think Radio. Come back, switch gears, talk a little politics. I know you like politics. We'll get into conversations around the Epstein files maybe. And then I really just want to spend some time talking about what you think of the Trump administration so far.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Hello, I'm Desiree Frazier, host of the award-winning news program, Mississippi Edition. We bring you conversations about the latest news from across the Magnolia State. Whether it's politics, healthcare, or education, you'll hear in-depth discussions on issues that matter to you. So join us each weekday morning at 8:30 on MPB Think Radio, or download the podcast, listen through the app, and online.
Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, is the official companion podcast to the upcoming MPB original documentary, focusing on the life of Medgar Evers. The companion podcast, hosted by me, Rita Brent, will feature in-depth conversations, extended interviews, and exclusive archive footage not shown in the documentary. Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, video and audio episodes premiere September 18th. Find it on mpbonline.org or wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission. Right here on MPB Think Radio. Your
your host, Russ Latino, talking today with Washington Examiner columnist, Magnolia Tribune columnist, Kimberly Ross. We were talking about the internet for a good bit there. It comes with advantages and disadvantages, right? And I think a lot of sociologists for a long time are going to be studying the impact of the rise of social media platforms and what it has done to the human brain. I mean, one of those things is, and maybe this will be a segue into the Epstein stuff, is it provides a microphone to people who historically haven't had a microphone. Mm-hmm. And so that's a good thing and a bad thing. The bad part of that is when it allows people with really aberrant positions and fringe thoughts to find out that there are other people with really aberrant positions and fringe thoughts and kind of coalesce around conspiracies that end up being damaging, right? And I think, part of it too is not to defend the media because we do a lot of things wrong. Like if you look at traditional media, it has failed in a lot of ways. But there's something to be said for reading the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and gaining some depth of understanding of an issue. Mm-hmm. And what we've been reduced to now is, can it be put into a meme that is funny? And you see the difference between a well thought out, nuanced, evidence-driven article and a funny meme. The meme will get 3 million views and shared 50,000 times or whatever it is, and the article will get 100. And so it's clearly society is signaling we would prefer memes to this analysis, but the end result is a much less informed society. Mm-hmm. Do you see that?
Oh, I see that for sure. I think the attention span aspect of how social media has affected us is very apparent. Like you said, memes and short little things. And even like when you're doing, like on Twitter, X now, I don't really call it X. But if you make it shorter, people are more interested in reading it and sharing it. If it's longer, it takes too much time and too much effort to look into it. Whereas, and I'm sure you're like this too, I enjoy reading articles and I like reading them from various sites. I like to hear what people are saying and what they're writing, even if I don't agree with them or the perspective. I think it does a lot to inform me what position people are coming from, what angle they're coming from. So, reading articles, long form articles is something that I feel like people don't really do as much now. They prefer some sort of flash in the pan opinion, and then they run with that as, I don't know, that is their brand or that is their mission or something.
So when the Epstein story first broke, because there wasn't a ton of publicly released information, there was a vacuum that I think the internet filled. And the internet filled it by speculating as to who all might be involved in that scandal, right? And I think, from the right, there was this really prevalent view that this is going to expose, Hillary Clinton and the blood-drinking Democrats. And I think from the left, there were probably some thought that, hey, this is going to expose Donald Trump and some of his ilk. And so there was a lot of speculation about what was in the files. And then, candidly, a lot of Republican politicians and influencers kind of built on that speculation and created this demand leading up to the 2024 election that, hey, if Donald Trump gets elected, we're going to release the Epstein files. We're going to release the list of everybody that went to Epstein Island. We saw the vice president say that. Clearly, Pam Bondi made a big issue of that. She had a bunch of Twitter influencers from the right come to the Department of Justice and hold up their notebooks with the Epstein file release and all this stuff. And then suddenly you see this massive reversal from the White House. What do you make of all this situation?
I think when I think of the Epstein files, there was such a thirst from both sides of the political aisle to find something with which to pin blame on their opponents. And there's almost nothing as criminal as someone who's involved in sex trafficking or sexual abuse of women and children. That is the worst kind of crime you can do. Short of murder, that's the worst kind of thing you can do, the worst kind of abuse you can do. And if you could find something and find a name that is of your ideological opponent or connected to your ideological opponent, then you're winning. And you can say that person, those people over there are way worse than my side because they have that person who did that thing or was connected to that person who did that bad thing. anything. So I think there was definitely a push to make something happen, even if there wasn't anything there. And I think we're seeing, and like you said, there was a push by Pam Bondi, and then there was a pullback. There's not what they thought would be there. There's information there, but nothing to the level that both sides really wanted. I don't really think Donald Trump would be implicated by something in the files. Sure, I think he knew Jeffrey Epstein.
That's clear.
And
right.
and he was in pictures with him, and I think he viewed him as a friend at some point. And the Clintons were in pictures with him. Democrats, Republicans were both connected to Epstein. But did they know of the crimes that were committed, or were they involved? I don't think they were. And I think people are almost disappointed because they want the worst kind of people to be. They want some confirmation that the people they've always thought were the worst people ever are actually the worst, and maybe even worse than what they originally thought. But that does not mean there should be some artificial, conclusion that's reached that says, oh, we do think they're bad, even if we haven't found the proof or something, because the truth and the facts matter more than anything else. And I just don't think it's there for either side to say of the other side.
Yeah, it strikes me that sort of Trump administration officials, including the vice president, including the attorney general, played into the hype as part of sort of a campaign tactic.
Yeah.
And then they caught the car. And I was like, oh, what are we going to do now? Because we've told the public that there's this massive amount of evidence that Democrats have been hiding from you. Mm-hmm. And we have it, and we're going to release it. And I think you're right that at some level, look, if Donald Trump was implicated in the Epstein files, you don't think Joe Biden would have used that?
Right.
You don't think Democrats, they had access to the exact same information at their Department of Justice. They would have used it. Yeah. And if Hillary Clinton was directly implicated in the Epstein files, the Trump administration would be using that. Mm-hmm. So I think you're right. I mean, the reasonable or rational sort of train of thought is there really is no there there. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that so much energy was put into saying, oh my gosh, this is a massive conspiracy and we're going to expose it.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it just looks really sloppy, and they don't want to admit that they were being sloppy because they wanted to use it as some sort of political weapon. And like I said, I think both sides really wanted that to be true. But I don't think the Trump administration wants to admit what they did was too fast and too far-fetched and reached out way beyond the evidence that's available. Yeah, I don't think they want to admit that they were sloppy. And that when she released the Epstein Binders Phase 1, I think is what it's called, there were 200 pages of basically nothing. It was all stuff that had already been released. And people were like, so you're just giving this little morsel to make it seem like there's a thing that's coming? It was just sloppy, and it was just more political than factual and strategic. So yeah, I think it looks bad for them, and they don't want to admit that.
They're marketing in a product that doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah. And you're right that at some level, this goes back in some ways to like the Sweeney and the Coldplay story is like, we're using these things as distractions from real issues, right? So instead of having a conversation, boring as it may be, about how do we create affordable housing in the United States, which is a really complicated conversation that needs an answer, we're having a conversation about Epstein. It's almost like we've gotten to the point where we've surrendered the idea that we can solve big problems. And so we spend all of our time like pointing fingers and alleged conspiracy. Do you see that?
I do see that. And I also don't think Americans want boring politics. Like, they just don't. It's a spectator sport. It's a religion. It's entertainment. People love that. It adds a dimension to everyday life that is a little more exciting than what it would have been if it hadn't been there. So I don't think Americans want boring politics. I don't think they want to have boring policy discussions because that's just boring and it doesn't seem as fun. But that should not be the goal. Politics should not be fun. It should be productive.
Yeah, I joke sometimes about making America boring again. It's not as ringy as MAGA, but like at some level, like I'm a very conservative guy, and I've not hidden that from this audience. I'm a conservative guy, but at some level, I just want competence.
Yeah,
like give me people with integrity and competence over showmen, and let's see how much we can actually improve our country.
But that's not exciting.
It's not. I know it's not. I know it's not.
But people aren't going to retweet that.
Sure. No, I know. So So then do we ever solve the problems?
Well, we should, because I don't think the path we're on right now, where everything is entertainment and we turn the dial up to 11 on every single issue, the things that don't even matter, like what we've been talking about, like the Sweeney or the Epstein thing. We're not even talking about the specifics about the more than 1,000 victims of Epstein. We're not talking about that. We're talking about how can we get the other side to look bad. That shouldn't be the goal ever. We should focus on substance and consistency, and I don't think people are very interested in either.
Yeah, at some level, I just feel like we're victims of our own success as a country, that there is such prosperity here, that technology has made life so much easier, that we have all this free time, that we end up like sort of fittering it away on really frivolous things, right? And, I think that if times were harder, we would actually require people who were serious.
Right.
But in a lot of ways, it just seems like we've become unserious as a nation.
Yeah.
I know that's a harsh indictment.
No, I think you're correct. I think with the freedom and the privilege, basically, that we all have in so many areas of our life, it leads to a kind of a focus on trying to fill, life with something that requires, a push toward difficulty or something. I think people really like working hard towards something, and they kind of like the tension that certain difficult times in their life brings. That may sound weird, but I really do think people enjoy pushing hard towards something, even if it means pushing through difficult times in your family or in your work life or something. People enjoy that pushback, I guess, from things in their life. And when there's not that there, you see people delve into what we've seen recently, where you can come up with, 10 different pronouns that describe you any given week. You can do whatever you want because you don't really have anything to focus on, because you have everything and you can do everything. And so you don't have much to focus on that means anything at all.
That's an interesting thought. We are talking with Kim Ross. We're going to take one brief break. When we come back, I want to get into the Trump administration, get your view of what's happened in the first 6 months, the good, the bad, the ugly. You're listening to The Sit Down right here on MPB. We'll be right back.
When the weather turns severe, when breaking news affects your family, when Mississippi needs answers, MPB is there. We provide real-time emergency alerts, trusted news coverage, and live broadcasts of emergency updates. Available on TV, radio, and online. MPB is on the air and by your side every day of the year. Because when it matters most, Mississippi turns to MPB, Mississippi's trusted source. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Hello, I'm Desiree Frazier, host of the award-winning news program, Mississippi Edition. We bring you conversations about the latest news from across the Magnolia State. Whether it's politics, healthcare, or education, you'll hear in-depth discussions on issues that matter to you. So join us each weekday morning at 8:30 on MPB Think Radio, or download the podcast, listen through the app, and online.
Together through the years, together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
listening to Sit Down right here on MPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Russ Latino. My guest today, Kimberly Ross, contributor to Washington Examiner, also to the Magnolia Tribune. It's been a great conversation. I love these types of conversations that are just real conversations about stuff that we actually sort of experience in regular life. I think a lot about the social media thing as an example, but obviously also think an awful lot about politics. My background, I ran an economic portfolio for a while nationally, and very interested in what's going on in the public policy sphere nationally. I know you are too, because I see you comment on it a lot. So I'm curious. You're not what I would call a Trump fan, but you also are very conservative. Mm-hmm. How do you assess this first period, this first 6-7 months of President Trump's term?
You're correct that I'm not quite a Trump fan, but I'm also not a Democrat. I've said this on Twitter before. I would say I'm never Trump and never Dem, because I'm conservative first and foremost. But no, I know so many people who voted for Trump. I have no issue with people who voted for Trump or even voted for Harris. I have so many people in my life on each side of the aisle. But as far as Trump in the first 6 months, I definitely think that Trump 2.0 is, I would say, more bold than Trump in the first term, because he did go through he had the first term, he lost in 2020. I don't think he was really expecting that, losing to Biden. So he gets in his second term, and he is just going full force and doing whatever he wants to do or needs to do. And people have said, if whatever he does in the White House, I voted for this. And I do think people voted for what he has been proposing and pushing, the executive orders, his decisions about our country domestically and foreign policy-wise and everything. I would say I am not, of course, pleased with everything he's done. I have, even in articles at Washington Examiner, applauded certain things he's done, like executive orders in terms of like gender and defining male and female and things like that, and protecting women in sports. I think that stuff is good. It's also only going to last during his administration, unless there's some sort of legislation to back it up. So that's good. It's fine. But I think it's more than anything red meat for his base, because it's not going to do much beyond his term in office. As far as foreign policy, I think, and I feel like a lot of conservatives feel like this too, they're very supportive of how supportive he has been of Israel and the conflict post-October 7th. So I think his words and actions about that, even his bombing of the Iran nuclear facilities recently in mid-June, I think, I support those decisions and actions. I think those are wonderful. I don't think in terms of domestically the tariffs that he has proposed, and I think he said so many years in a row that tariff is, if it's not the most beautiful word in the English language, it's one of the most beautiful words. But that directly affects the American people in a negative way, because we are saddled with the cost from tariffs. So I think he's made some good choices. Some other choices are things that aren't going to last past his administration, but they're there to, I think, kind of make it look like he's making some gains on the cultural and social fronts. I do support a lot of what he's doing foreign policy-wise. I would say that he needs to support Ukraine more in the fight against Russia, because, and I've said this again, I've said this on X, Twitter, Ukraine is not a perfect country, but in the conflict with Russia, it's the country that we should be supporting. And Russia was the aggressor, and I think we need to support Ukraine to the point to where there's an end to the conflict, because they do need, militarily, they need our support. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag in terms of the past 6 months. And it kind of feels like it's been a long 6 months, because there's almost something every single week that happens where I either applaud it or I roll my eyes. And I think that will continue on into the rest of his term, because he's definitely quite a character, and he knows what he's doing in terms of how he relates to the public and how he talks about and to the media. So I don't think we're going to have any sort of boring administration in the next 3.5 years.
Yeah, I think people who paint him as being dumb are not giving him his due. Mm-hmm. From a marketing perspective, I've never seen anybody better at moving narratives. I've never seen anybody, and right. Sometimes they're there's marketing that I would roll my eyes at, but it seems like the general public looks at it and goes, well, that makes sense, right? And so he clearly has tapped into the zeitgeist, if you will, of the general public on a lot of those things and knows how to move the media and manipulate. And I agree with you. I mean, he certainly has flooded the zone, right? I mean, way, way more aggressive than Trump 1.0. I mean, some of that may be that Pence had a regulating effect on the first presidency. I am curious if you had to give it a letter grade, because I'm with you. There's some, like I would look at immigration, I'd say like, you know, the fact that border crossings, illegal border crossings are down like 95% shows that he's doing something right, as an example. But I go back and forth. I was like, that's good, that's bad, that's good, that's bad.
Right.
What's the letter grade that you would give him so far?
I would say a C. That's about what I would give him. Not a C minus. Probably not a C plus. I would say a C. And for the, like, again, I know I keep talking about X, but people will say to me on there, well, you know, you just hate Trump or something. I don't hate Trump at all. I don't hate people who voted for Trump. I don't hate the Trump administration. I have always been interested in calling balls and strikes no matter who is in office. I think that's the only way to assess a presidency. I'm going to continue doing that. There's going to be good things and bad things. And to say it's going to be all good or all bad, I think is dishonest.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly have experienced this. My audience is smaller than yours on X, but one day I will be a pinko commie liberal, and the next day I will be MAGA, and it could be on the same issue. I mean, immigration's a great example of that. On immigration, I said something along the lines of immigration is good. It's a good thing for us to have immigrants coming into the country. Due process is good. And then suddenly I was a liberal. And then, you know, the next day as the LA riots are unfolding, I'm saying, hey, actually, you know, law and order still needs to be put in place, right? And then I was MAGA. And so on the same issue within a day, I was both a pinko commie liberal and a MAGA person. So it's crazy. It's been great having you in. This is a wonderful conversation. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. I've appreciated it.
The Sit Down is a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting Think Radio, made possible thanks to the generous support of listeners like you. If you enjoy the guests and sit downs we bring each week, please consider making a contribution to keep shows like this on the air. Visit mpbonline.org or show your support using the MPB app. Today's show was produced by Germaine Flood, live streamed by Abram Nanny. For my guest columnist Kimberly Ross, I'm Russ Latino. Stay tuned to Southern Remedy right here at 11 a.m. and join us next week for an episode of The Sit Down, heard only on MPB Think Radio.